All right, this is a live stream. Let's see how it goes. It's my first live stream. I hope I don't share any credentials. Yeah, let's get going. Browser automation made easy. A quick video about how you can use Playwright in order to build browser automation for different use cases. Before I show you how I use Playwright, which I think is the most effective way to build an automation in the browser these days, and I share with you also insights and tips after building browser automations for more than 6 years. Specifically, not with Playwright. I used to build with RPA tools, moved to using Playwright and Python scripts in the last couple of years. Before we dive into Playwright, a bit of context. So what is browser automation? Browser automation is the process of using software to control a web browser programmatically. It basically allows you to perform tasks without direct human interaction. So it's like Excel macros, or imagine that you have a virtual assistant that you want to do, you want to ask it to do a tedious work. So instead of having a virtual assistant doing tedious work, you can just automate this. Browser automation, I don't know what was the origin of inventing this, but it's being used a lot for testing the websites, testing different browsers on a website, etc. So here's a quick example. So imagine that you're testing a website and need to check if a login form works across hundreds of scenarios. So in different platforms, let's say different types of browsers. So you want to test Firefox, you want to test Chrome, you want to test Windows Explorer. I don't even remember if it's called Windows Explorer, Edge, whatever. So you can automate this. So this is an automation in the testing world, but what I'm going to talk about is mostly marketing related automations. For example, you can scrape databases, you can automate commenting in social networks, you can automate social DMs. So for example, if you're doing cold outreach via Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or whatever, you can use a browser automation. And it can also be valuable for form filling. Many spammers are using this to go to WordPress websites and just fill the contact us form with what they are selling, with their pitch. So this is also a use case for browser automation. Let me check if I'm getting any. What is the data if I'm streaming? I'm not sure if I'm. It seems like I'm streaming. Let's see here if I'm streaming. Yes. Okay. Cool. Seems like I'm streaming. Okay. So let's move forward. So before we move forward, obviously I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel and check out the No Fluff newsletter at nofluff.online, in which I share on a weekly basis like 5 bullet points about stuff that I find interesting in the world of AI agents and data-driven automation. Now, some basic concepts in browser automation, because I think it's just important before we dive in. Some of you might already know this. Let's just run through this very fast. So headless versus headful automation. So running a browser without a visible window is called headless. It is faster and perfect for background tasks like testing or scraping on a server. With a visible UI, which is headful, you can watch every step, which is great for figuring out if something is not clicking, for debugging. And in many cases, it is going to be slower, and it's actually harder for the platforms to detect you when you're doing headful automation. So something to keep in mind. It's very important, speaking about detection, it's very important to add random waits and delays between actions, because most of the sophisticated platforms, if they see, let's say you want to cold outreach in Facebook. So you scrape a bunch of leads, let's say you scrape 100 leads, and then you just go into each URL, click the like button of the recent post, and then send them a message, and it takes you like 2 seconds to do each iteration, each URL. It's going to seem suspicious to the platform, and the platform is going to flag this behavior, and obviously it might block you. So it's very important to add random weights between clicks between when you're typing, so when you're mimicking the typing, when the computer is typing for you, and between every iteration. So sometimes adding like in the micro level, in each iteration, adding between 0.5 seconds to 3 seconds delay, as if you're a human being. And between each iteration, sometimes I add, like, let's say I'm doing a cold outreach automation. So after each cold outreach, I'm going to wait between 30 to 90 seconds. After every 5 iterations, I'm going to wait between 30 minutes to 60 minutes, for example, because I don't want to get to a certain number. Like, let's say I don't want to get to a situation in which I send 100 cold DMs within 1 hour, because it's going to seem suspicious to the platform. Obviously, some platforms, they impose their own limitations, so they don't allow you to send more than 100 DMs per week, for example, and they add captchas, which can already be solved by some of the frameworks. We are going to cover specifically Playwright today, but there are some frameworks such as Selenium Base, and also Playwright, I think, can bypass some captchas. So another thing that is important to know is asserting. Asserting is basically a double check that your automation work, and also double checking each phase. So let's say I want to log in into Instagram automatically. So before I send the clicks of logging into Instagram, like with the username and the password, what I want to do, I first want to make sure that the login form is visible. So this is just a basic test that you're doing before you're conducting actions. Most of the time you want to validate that the relevant element is already appears on the browser. Next basic concept is avoiding abuse. Obviously, if you're not careful, you can be detected. An alternative for avoiding detection is using proxies and rotating between the proxies. So let's think of an example. Let's say I want to automate cold outreach in Facebook and I want to scale it. So instead of using one user, I can buy 20 fake users in Black Hat World or whatever. They cost less than $1. I connect each one of them to a proxy, a residential proxy. So it seems as if each user is being connected from a house in the US, for example. Obviously, you need to warm up the accounts before, so you can just buy aged accounts. And then instead of running the automation via one user, you start rotating between all users. So let's say I have Yaron, John Doe, and Jimmy. So Yaron is going to send a message, then John Doe is going to send a message, and then Jimmy is going to send a message. And we can do this with hundreds of users, and then we can basically increase the volume. I'm a big believer in volume, although this might come across as spammy, but to each his own. Next concept, handling dynamic content. So basically, many websites, they load elements dynamically. So pop-ups can appear, elements can appear interactively. So this is something that you need to take into account. This is why it's very important before you do the automation to do like the manual process a few times, just to see what are like the challenges that might arise. Obviously, when you're testing the automation, you will also encounter many of these challenges, and I will show you later on how to tackle them. Another thing to keep in mind is managing cookies and session cookies. So this is very valuable thing. So instead of logging in every time, let's say I want to automate Instagram. So instead of logging in every time, what you can do, you can save the browser cookies and the session cookies. Let me show an example over here. So I have browser data, and over here, I have all the data of the browser. So instead of just logging in every time, it seems as if I'm already logged in. So this minimizes the risk of being detected. It's also valuable in case that you don't want to use incognito. So there are various nuances to this, but something that you need to be aware of, the ability to save cookies and session cookies. Next thing is error handling and robustness. So your automation will break because when you're not connected via API, and to be honest, any automation breaks over time, but especially these type of automations, they break very often because a button moves, the platform change, um, the color or the class of a specific button, and then your whole automation is going to break, and you need to just be aware of it, build enough logs and error handling, and also be aware that you just will need to update it constantly. Another thing to keep in mind is multi-page or multi-tab scenarios. So when you just want to automate, for example, Instagram or LinkedIn automation or Facebook, you're just using one tab. It's pretty simple. As soon as you start adding more complexity, more pages, more tabs, things can get a bit more chaotic, and this is something a bit more advanced. You just need to be aware of this. It is possible, and people are doing this. What else? So detection avoidance, we discussed this. There are platforms like browserless. I think Brightdata are offering this type of solution. So there are solutions out of the box that allow you to bypass proxies, captchas, etc. Performance and scalability is kind of related to what I said here. Let's skip this. And legal and ethical considerations. Very often, what you're doing basically is illegal. So you should keep this in mind. Sometimes it's also unethical. Anyway, moving forward. So let's discuss Playwright and Windsurf. Windsurf is a tool that I've been covering lately very often. It's just an IDE. It's a fork of VS Code. Basically, it allows you to write code, but the benefit of Windsurf is the fact that over here you have Cascade, which allows you to basically use natural language in order to automate stuff. So let's use here as an example. Can you please write a README file for this repository? So I asked it to write a README file for the repository. It's going to analyze the whole code base, and it's going to write a comprehensive README file for me. It also wrote this script for me. This whole script was written by Cascade, a tool by Windsurf. Like, this is their feature that just writes a code based on your request. So we can see here it already analyzed the README file because I already had a README file, and now it is editing the README file, and in a moment it will tell me what is done, and I can take a look at the README file and see exactly what does this automation do. Specifically, this automation is for Instagram cold outreach. Many coaches and consultants are using Instagram cold outreach in order to generate leads. Some of them are using paid ads in order to get engagement from followers, and then they do a warm outreach to followers. So this automation can also do this. Let's check out the README file. Over here, README. Let's see. Okay, so this is the README file. These are the updates. Let's accept everything, and we can see here. So this is just an automation. I'm just showing you an example of what Windsurf can do. This specific automation also uses Python libraries that can analyze the face and ethnicity and the gender of the prospect. It has a rate limiting baked into it. This is the project structure. Everything was written by Windsurf. So Windsurf is amazing. It's like a competitor of Cursor. If you prefer using VS Code, you can just use RuCode or Klein, which are AI coding assistants that are extensions. Now, so that was Windsurf, and we have Playwright. Playwright is a fast and reliable tool for testing and browser automation. They have a very good YouTube channel in which they cover a lot of stuff. Obviously, you can check out in the repo how to install, how to get started, etc. And they have very good documentation. It's actually a framework that was built by Microsoft, so keep that in mind. Now, let's see if we have any viewers. This is interesting. Okay, 10 concurrent viewers. I never use this. Okay, let's see. People are actually, you know, let's see. Let me answer all questions afterwards. I don't have enough bandwidth to manage this yet. Okay, cool. So yeah, I will answer questions afterwards. Let's see if I'm just able to pull this whole stream off without any errors. Okay, so moving forward, let's discuss the Playwright Recorder, which is an amazing tool. It's very simple and yet very powerful. Basically, what it allows you to do, it allows you to record a flow, the thing that you would like to automate, and afterwards, basically, you can just hit the click the play button, and it's going to do what you just did. Now, it gains more power if you take the whole script that was written by Playwright, paste it into Windsurf, and add your own instructions. Before I show you the CodeGen, the Playwright Recorder, I want to mention Selector Hub, which is a very valuable Chrome extension that allows you to analyze selectors. Selectors are basically, let me open chat in order to explain what are selectors, because it's going to explain better than me. Can you explain what are selectors? Explain as if I'm in 8th grade and give me an analogy from the world of dieting or cooking. Okay, so selectors help Playwright find the right ingredients, elements on a web page, just like a recipe tells you which ingredient to use for this. So you have different selectors: CSS selector, text selectors, ID selectors, XPath selectors, etc. The cool thing about Selector Hub that it allows you to try to, it allows you basically, it tells you what are the selectors. So let's come here, for example, Amazon. I right click, and when I come here to Selector Hub, I can choose which selector I want to copy. So I can copy the XPath. This is the XPath, for example. Let's paste it here. This is an example of a selector. We have an example of a JS path. We can paste it here. And we have an example of ID. Sometimes it doesn't work. Let's paste it here. Yes, so not available. So these are different type of selectors, and some selectors are more robust and accurate than others, and this is something that you should know. Let's paste it here. So just download Selectors Hub if you want to use this, and here's just a quick explanation about the different types of selectors. Never mind, this is not crucial. Let's move forward. Yeah, code generator. So let's copy this. Let's paste it in the terminal. We will clear the terminal, extend this. Okay, so as you see here, we are basically turning on Playwright CodeGen, and specifically this is the website, google.com. Once we click this, it's going to open Chromium, which is a browser similar to Chrome, and it's going to open another window in which it's going to record all of our movements, basically what we are doing. Hopefully it will work. Yes, so we have the Playwright Inspector and we have Google. So whenever I hover above anything, it tells me exactly what we are seeing. So as you can see here, so let's say we want to type something. So let's type Windsurf by Codium. So as you can see over here, it is recording all of our actions. So what we typed, specifically, I don't know why it says in Georgian, because I'm based in Georgia at the moment. So it thinks that this is my, you see, now they showed me a captcha. which is an interesting move. Let's try to solve this very fast. Now, some platforms, such as some frameworks, they can automatically solve some captchas. I'm not sure about this type of captcha. I'm guessing that they can't, but they also have an ability to minimize the risk of being flagged by the platform in order to solve the captcha. As you can see, it's asking me a ton of questions. So probably it suspects. Let's do something else. Let's not use Google. Let's do something easier. So let's go to my website, because it's not the point you didn't sign up in order to see me solving captchas. So we are opening my website. It's also good PR, good opportunity to do a shameless plug. Okay, so let's click here, and you can see, let's Yaron.Been test 24 of Feb gmail.com. Let's click this button. And it seems like there is an issue with the website. I will check this out, but we can pause the recording now, and you can see that we have the whole code over here. So we can export it to different type of languages. So we can export it to Python, JavaScript, whatever. Now, what I usually do, I just take it here, and then I can paste it in Cascade and tell it, can you create a robust automation that follows these steps? Make sure to add logs for every step so we know it was completed correctly. Call the automation no fluff test YouTube. And you will see in a moment it's going to write this file for me. So it's creating the no fluff subscription test.py. Let's see what's up here. Okay. Okay, so it's telling me I've created a robust test automation script with the following features. Logs are saved into logs nofluff.test, natural typing simulation, dynamic image generation, robust error handling, and basically we can run this code by doing this. Let's view the file. So this is the file. You can see over here, it created the logs. Everything is well documented with comments, etc. So it's waiting for the page to fully load. As you can see here, it is looking. I mean, it notifies me in the logging that it's looking for input field. If the input field doesn't exist, it's going to tell me input field not found, etc. So you can see how just pasting what we got from Playwright and asking for logs just enhance the whole code. What I can do now, I can just run this automation. As you can see here in the command line, we are getting all the logs. In a moment you will see. Now let's see what happens. Now it is supposed to, yes, so you're on test 2025. It just generated out of the blue the Gmail, and something is wrong over here. But you saw the automation pretty much worked, and as you can see here, we have the log. So starting no fluff subscription test, launching browser, navigating to no fluff website, successfully loaded no fluff website, looking for email input field, found email input field, proceeding with email entry, entering email address, looking for subscribe button, found subscribe button, clicking, wait for subscription, confirming, final URL after subscription, test completed successfully, closing browser, no flap, subscription test completed successfully. This is crazy, mind-blowing, because you have all the logs. In case you have errors, you can just analyze the logs, and you can just, because you have, I always ask it to create a very detailed log for every action. It's very easy to debug or troubleshoot, and based on this, I can just copy here and paste it here and tell it, listen, this was the error, although we didn't have an error over here. See what is necessary in order to fix it. And it's very easy for it when analyzing the logs just to fix it. And also the logs will also save in a different file, which is also very valuable for me, because then I can go into the logs, fetch them, paste them here, or analyze them on my own. Let's see, what else did I want to cover? Pasting to Windsurf. Important concept. So add as many logs as possible. I showed you an example. Make sure that you ask Windsurf to show the logs in the terminal, plus create a log file. Trying different selectors. So if you're scraping multiple objects, make sure to add a few selectors and copy the pattern. So why is this important? So in this case, we just had one input box and one button. Pretty straightforward, pretty obvious. But let's say that we have many buttons that we want to click that might be kind of similar. So let's say many Facebook profiles. So if you just copy one Facebook profile, it will always go back to the same Facebook profile. So this is why it's very important, if there is like a list of profiles that you want to scrape the whole list, you need to copy, you need to click at least 3 of them, have it being saved in the Playwright inspector, and paste it in Windsurf, but you tell it, let's say we have selector 1, which is user 1, and we have selector 2 and selector 3 and user 3. So let's assume that these are XPath or CSS selectors or whatever. So what you can tell Windsurf is basically create a dynamic selector, or maybe perhaps a wildcard, because as you can see, I just want to follow the pattern, but we have different instances or different entities. For this specific case, you don't have to write the code. Just tell me, how would you approach this? Now, I told it not to write the code because this isn't code, you know, so no point. But basically it says, for handling dynamic selectors that follows a pattern like user 1, user 2, user 3, there are several approaches you can use. So as you can see, matches any element with the user in the, let's extend this. So this is a wildcard, matches any element with user in the attribute, or similar to the CSS but more flexible with complex pattern. This is using an XPath with contains, etc. So the point is, if there are many buttons that you want to click on and they might look similar, so you need to analyze the pattern or use Windsurf in order to analyze the pattern. Moving forward, selector hub we discussed, and pasting to Windsurf we discussed. I guess that's pretty much it. Let's see. Before we conclude, so obviously subscribe and leave a comment below with your feedback. Make sure to join the NoFluff newsletter at nofluff.online. I will check if something is malfunctioning in the website. And if you need help with strategy or implementing automation in your business, reach out to my email. Now let's answer questions before we summarize. I guess we can summarize and then answer questions. So we covered the basic of web automations, browser automations. What are some common misconceptions and important stuff that you should know? Then I showed you how to use Playwright with Windsurf how easy it is to use Playwright with the Playwright code gen or recorder in order to generate in this specific example I showed you like a very simple example, but this thing can very easily build very complex automations, as you saw that I did in my Instagram automation. Until next time, keep on automating. Now let's move to questions. If you guys have anything. Oh, this is great news. Playwright is basically a framework for browser automation. So it's not better than Python or JavaScript. Basically, Python or JavaScript or the languages, and this is just a package. So the competitors of Playwright or Selenium Base, I would say, and Puppeteer, and Selenium, and yes, and Selenium basically. There are pros and cons for each one of them. I think these days Playwright is becoming very popular. I specifically like it a lot, and I'm planning to dive deeper into Selenium Base because I think the founder of Selenium Base is doing amazing work, and there are many native solutions to solve captchas, and the documentation is excellent. So definitely check out Selenium Base. And Roland, thank you for supporting the channel, and thank you for letting me know. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. It was quite fun to stream this live. Leave comments in the comment section if you felt that it was more valuable or just the same in terms of streaming versus not streaming. Yeah, until next time, keep on automating.